I want to try to frame this Kavanaugh issue in something I think is more important than just whether or not we put somebody on the U.S. Supreme Court. Rev, you would agree that one of the fundamentals in American democracy is that everybody's treated equally, the blindfold of justice.
Sure.
You know, you can't just because now to believe that in its entirety is a bit naive. I mean, we understand that people who are connected and affluent normally have better representation than people who aren't. That's just the realities of an imperfect world. But we got to believe in the presumption of innocence. We've got to believe in due process. Now, I believe that we'll get to a place in America, and I think we're heading there, if we continue to allow liberal policies. I think we'll get to a place in America, and I think when you look at history, 50 years from now, 40 years from now, I think you'll see that Trump was the beginning of the belief in the American public that I'm willing to give up some things if somebody can fix it. I'm talking about, lawlessness and a lot of the other problems and ills in American society and culture. I think we'll get to a place one day where some strong military figure runs for the presidency under the campaign agenda of, I believe in due process, I believe in the rule of law, but we got to clean up this place. We got to fix the country.
Really?
I believe that. Yeah, I think one day we'll
like
get
a strong
there.
Military type.
I think a strong man will absolutely be elected president in the next 30 or 40 years. No question in my mind. And his campaign will be, I'll fix it. It's broken, I'll fix it. Isn't that kind of what Trump did? Now, Trump would be perceived as a strong man, but he's not a military-minded sort of person. And I think the American public will see the lawlessness and the sense of irresponsibility, and they'll say, hey, I don't want to be this for long, but we need somebody like that to come along and fix it, clean it up. I do believe we're heading there. These are slow evolutions, and they don't happen overnight. But I want to go to what I consider to be, because I thought a lot about this last night, and I got real, and I get real upset about it. I get real aggravated about it, but because as it relates to due process and the fundamental rule of law, I think both parties have to respect that. I think we've got deep trouble when one or the other party just absolutely disrespects the presumption of innocence. And once again, the offer stands, 843-661-0937. If you're somebody on the other side, with all due respect, you'll be treated with respect. I want you to call in and tell me how you explain your party's strategy and tact with the presumption of innocence and due process. It's hard for me to get there. I mean, I'm struggling trying to understand. Now, I get what Jernigan said. I like what Rod said. It's a payback from Merrick Garland. I get that. Senators are political. The system is political. If it's retribution for, Merrick Garland, then so be it. It's retribution for Merrick Garland. But don't sit here and argue that we're not intruding upon an individual's personal liberties and rights, freedoms, and his due process, because that's exactly what we're doing. I didn't watch the interview last night with Brett Kavanaugh. He had his wife with him. I think he actually said he was a virgin in high school, and many years after that remained a virgin. I don't know why he felt that necessary to let people know, but he did. And that's his judgment. That's his right. That's how he wants to deal with it. So he did. I want to go to a couple of things that I pondered over the weekend, went back and revisited yesterday. One is Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii. Now she's, I guess, the new model of Senate questioner, inquisitor. She wants to know exactly what's going on. She made some fairly remarkable statements last week that should scare the daylights out of all of us, but it only scares the daylights out of half of us, because half of us want Kavanaugh put on the U.S. Supreme Court. I want to quote her. I don't want to misquote. I don't want to, create a narrative or commentate on exactly what this lady said. So I found the exact quote, and she said, "Not only do women like Dr. Ford, who bravely come forward, need to be heard, they need to be believed. I just want to say to the men in this country, just shut up and step up. do the right thing for a change. If she were sitting here, I would ask the esteemed senator, what is the right thing, ma'am? I mean, it's obvious you've made a judgment. You've resolved this internally and introspectively. You believe that you've landed in the right place. What have you based that rationale on? I'll tell you what she's based it on, because here's her next comments. And this is bizarre. I mean, this is unbelievable that a U.S. senator would say this. The Wall Street Journal editorial page pointed out that her statement suggests that the new American standard of due process will be the presumption of guilt. She went further. She was on CNN Sunday morning. She said that Kavanaugh's basic integrity had been undermined. And here are her exact quotes. He's very outcome-driven. He has an ideological agenda. And I can sit here and talk to you about some of the cases that exemplify his, in my view, inability to be fair. What she's saying, folks, is if you disagree with me, you're unfair. If you disagree with me, you're dishonest. Kavanaugh's words are less believable in her eyes because she has a different political perspective, a different political view. That's what we talked about yesterday. She went on to say, we already have one person who got to the Supreme Court under this cloud. We don't need another. I hear Trump compared to McCarthyism. This lady is flirting with the medieval times and their version and standards of justice. How in the world could you defend that statement? But guess what? The Democrats have over and over and over again. If you're somebody who disagrees with their political views, with their political persuasions, you don't deserve the presumption of innocence. The only people that preserve or deserve the presumption of innocence in this country are people of like mind, people who agree with the left. And I'm trying to be a little more accomplished and tactful today in my dissertation. I'll probably end up off the rails, and if I do, so be it. 843-661-0937 is our number. You think she's an outlier? You think she's just a crazy Democrat in a normal, she's a lunatic within the organized forces of the Democrat Party, and they're reasonable and right? Okay, let's go to Senator Patty Murray of Washington. She told Chuck Todd Sunday morning on NBC's Meet the Press, didn't want to misquote, didn't want to talk about it yesterday. I wanted to go back and find the exact quotes. I found the transcript of Meet the Press. Here's what Patty Murray, a Democrat senator who will vote along with Mazie Hirono of Hawaii, who the next justice on the U.S. Supreme Court, who are there to do what? Rule on matters relating to legal justice. That's what their job is.
Consent.
That's what their job is. The Supreme Court justice rules on what the precedent is and what is lawful or unlawful. That's not what Patty Murray wants. That's not what Mazie Hirono works. Patty Murray of Washington, she's a Democrat, told Chuck Todd, here's her exact quote, I think it's really important in this time, in this day, that we recognize when women speak out that we should presume they are innocent. That's lunacy. A woman speaks out in this Me Too generation. In other words, a woman accuses you of something, a woman accuses me of something, and we presume the woman is innocent. Now, that's her way of saying we believe the lady. The lady doesn't tell a lie. The lady tells the truth. If the woman makes an accusation, we got to believe those accusations are real. Rev, that's medieval. That's where that party is today. And there is no rationale. There is no reason. There is no moral standard of what's lawful or unlawful. There is no presumption of innocence. The only presumption of innocence, the only people in this country who have a right to be presumed innocent are people of like mind. People who see the world in a very similar way that they do. In response on Meet the Press, her Republican colleague, Senator David Perdue, Republican of Georgia, in my opinion, sided with the legal standards. Here's his exact quote. This is a democracy. We have a judicial system, but we also have innocent until proven guilty. Like any courtroom in our land, the Senate needs to get to the truth. And here's what I'm asking, and I'd love, and I mean this sincerely, nobody will, I'm not going to try to embarrass anybody or challenge anybody. I'm going to do Scott Kaufman because I want to hear his take on this. You've got a political party in America today that operates on intimidation. Ted Cruz, I don't know if you've seen this or not. Ted Cruz and his family were in a restaurant last night, and Ted Cruz basically got verbally attacked in the restaurant by organized activists. Now we're told that the lady coming to Washington Thursday is fearful of her life. That's the pot calling the kettle black. There is no more dangerous group of people, political activists in America, than those on the left. I mean, let's, for clarity's sake, let's make that crystal clear.
And they're doing what Maxine Waters told them to do.
There are very few episodes.
Get in their face, resist.
There are very few episodes or instances of the right getting out of hand. They organize, they're activists, they yell and scream and protest. They have a constitutional right to do that. Very seldom do you see people on the right attack other people. It's only on the left. And the hypocrisy of this lady saying that the allied forces of the right are threatening my life. They're making me move from my home. I need security. The reason I may not come to Washington on Thursday is I'm fearful of my safety and well-being. That is inconsistent with reality. If you are somebody on our side and you are making your way to Washington to be deposed or witness on an issue that contradicts the left's agenda, you better be fearful.
Did you read any of the emails that were sent to Mrs. Kavanaugh?
I have not.
Rush Limbaugh read the emails. He had, of course, not say the words that he can't say, but it'll make you blush just sitting there reading the emails.
Well, I mean, here's what has happened. Here's what has happened. In the National Party, nobody's told the idiots to sit down and shut up. Nobody's told the nuts to sit down and shut up. In fact, the party has lost rationale. And I was thinking about this last night. When I'm reading these statements and comments, and nobody in the media challenges Patty Murray. Chuck Todd didn't say, whoa, Senator, did you just say that the presumption of innocence is outdated? Did you say that we are to believe anybody that contradicts with your political ideology? Because that's exactly what she said. Now, Chuck Schumer believes that. He just hadn't said it yet. Nancy Pelosi believes that. She just hasn't said it yet. And I go back to my belief. My belief as a politician, as a business guy, has always been a lot of pragmatism and some conservatism. I make no bones about that. I don't shy away from that. I don't run away from that. I'm not fearful to say that on the record. I have no idea what the strategy is of the left. I mean, it's bizarre to me. I mean, it's
other than resist.
Well, I mean, but Rev, you okay? Resist. That's fair enough. You got a president with an agenda you don't agree with, but you can't throw things out like due process and the rule of law. You can't take something as sacred. That's right. It's sacred.
Apparently
the presumption of innocence is incredibly sacred. That's what makes us different than the medieval forms and standards of justice. We must hold on to the presumption of innocence. And we got a political party being cheered along by a political media who say, yeah, you deserve presumption of innocence. You deserve due process unless you don't believe what we believe. And are we really, as an American public, going to tolerate that? I'm trying to be very tactful here. I mean, I don't want to yell and scream and spit all on the microphone and have to go outside and take another blood pressure medicine. But, I mean, you on that side, you on the left, are you okay with what Patty Murray said? Are you okay with what the good senator from Hawaii said? I mean, are you comfortable with people representing your party believing that the rule of law only applies to people who believe in exactly what you believe in? Because right now, there's evidence to show as clear as a bell that is where we are.